From the John DeVita Broadcast Center, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Armchair Experts with Jim Leon and Rich Massaro on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich on Wednesday, October the 14th, the year of our Lord, 2015. And now, here they are, live in person, still breathing on their own, Jim and Rich.
I'd hate to see if one of us was sitting here not breathing on our own.
Come in with
that'd be a sort of a one-sided conversation.
Come in with an oxygen tank. I think one of these weeks we have to come in with an oxygen tank.
There you go.
Would you look at the decorations here in the broadcast center?
You know, John does this. I know he did it last year.
Yeah.
And, John is just, I admire people like John who really, he decorates for Halloween, Christmas, and whatever other occasions deserve decorating, and I liked it. I don't have that particular gene or talent, if you want to put it that way.
St. Swithin's Day, he decorates for all the big holidays.
Yeah, tell me what St. Swithin's Day is all about.
I have no idea. Some saint named Swithin. I don't know.
Well, I know this is just a facade, because I know what you want to jump into, because our timing is beautiful today.
That's right. I want to talk about who's going to succeed Steve Spurrier.
Yeah,
at South Carolina.
That's right.
And who's going to succeed Steve Sarkisian at USC?
And immediately you hear the sound of 10 clicks as everybody, our whole listening audience goes off and goes to another station.
I had to laugh today. Talk about meatball fans. I heard somebody complaining the fact that Eddie Vedder got camera time last night during the Cub game.
Jeez, Eddie, that would be like complaining, and how would you say? I'll say it myself. That'd be like complaining if I got camera time. I mean, Eddie Vedder has been with a Cubs fan forever, just the same as if I got camera time at a Ridgewood football game. I've been a Ridgewood football fan forever.
Right,
so.
right. And the funny thing about Vedder, I mean, he's a Cub fan. They were talking on the radio this morning with Spiegel and Goff, and he said last summer when they did the hot tunes, cool, hot times, cool music promotion that they do for charity, Eddie Vedder hunted down Jose Cardinal and brought him to the event because Jose Cardinal was his favorite player growing up.
Yeah, well, he was. I think he was probably a lot of people who were growing up at that time's favorite player. Yeah. He was probably the best player they had for a number of years, and definitely.
A friend of mine grew up in this area, and then she moved out to Arizona and came back and worked in the area for a year and would go to a lot of Cub games. And she said she was out there the 4th of July one year, and this was the year. This was the year after Harry died. Mm-hmm. No, yeah, it was the year after. It was the summer after Harry died, and she's sitting out there in the bleachers before the game. All of a sudden, she says, "This guy sits down next to me," and she says he's got black horn-rimmed glasses. His hair is kind of greasy, looks kind of dorky, and he was wearing a Jose Cardinal jersey. And she says, and I looked down and I noticed his fingernails had black fingernail polish on it. Are you allergic to something down here?
Yeah, this story, I think I heard it before.
Well, our 10 listeners have not. and she looked at him and said, "Are you Eddie Vedder?" He goes, "Yeah, I am." Well, what are you doing out in the bleachers? He goes, "I always sit in the bleachers." Yeah, I grew up in Evanston. I always sit in the bleachers. He said, "I got a jersey." He said, and she says, "And you're wearing Jose Cardinal." I said, "Well, he was my favorite player."
Number one.
That's right. And then the usual nonsense out in the bleachers. Some guy's there going, "Hey, who's singing today?" And Vedder goes,
"That sounds like somebody from the bleachers."
And Vedder goes, "I am." And the guy looks at him and goes, "Who the hell are you?" So about the 5th inning when the usher came. Excuse me, Mr. Vedder, would you like to come with us?
Yeah, we have a lot more important things to talk about.
That's
But
right.
when you bring up Jose Cardinal, I have to just take a trip down memory lane and say, the San Francisco Giants in the early '60s had numerous, excellent players, and especially outfielders, because you had Willie Mays and the Alou brothers and guys like that. But, there was guys that they got rid of that turned into really good ball players, and Jose Cardinal
Jose
was
Cardinal
one.
was one of them.
Leon Daddy
Daddy
Wags.
Wags! That was one of my
Willie,
that was one of
Willie
my
Kirkland was another one.
Daddy Wags was one of my dad's favorite players.
So yeah, well, I love Daddy Wags too. He was just for that time he was a unique character.
Yeah.
But at any rate, though, you know what? I know that we really need to talk about what happened last night, huh? Jim?
Hey, man.
Do you believe it?
I'm still sitting here kind of stunned through all this. I don't want to, I've said all along that I've had such a feeling about this team, and I still do. I still do. And to have a game, to have a game last night where your best pitcher didn't exactly have the best of nights, but he still managed to strike out 9 in 5 2/3 innings.
Right. Yeah.
But I think the issue too with Arrieta last night, that cutter on a windy night, just was not working very well.
I think the other thing is, thankfully he didn't have his best night on a night when, when we hit the heck out of the ball. And I would say I believe in percentages, and Arrieta has been on such a hot roll that it's how could you say it? Put it this way: if he's going to be the normal Jake Arrieta, it's going to seem almost like he's in a funk to us, but that's really probably not the case.
No.
So, but again, Jake picked a good night to not have his best stuff because he certainly got some offensive support.
My gosh, 6 home runs.
That's a record. I never thought I would. And the other thing, did you hear, Jim, what they were talking about? Did you watch the game on TV?
I saw part of it. We were driving back from Michigan yesterday, so I listened to most of the game on radio.
Okay.
And we stopped at Four Winds in New Buffalo to have dinner, and the game was on. But I didn't hear any audio.
Okay. The thing I was going to say is that I think it was during the radio broadcast, because I heard the first 7 innings on radio. I only saw the last 2 on TV. But I believe Pat Hughes made the statement that the Cubs have not had 1 through 6 hitters all homer in a game in 20,000 games. Now, apparently it's happened before, because I don't think 6 home runs in a regular season game, that's probably not even a record. But the fact that the 1 through 6 hitters all homered in the same game for the Cubs has not happened in 20,000 games. So you're talking about mucho long time there.
Many, many times.
Actually, the
Many
thing that's
years, right.
surprising about that number is I'm surprised that it ever even happened at all. I would think that the odds are astronomical.
Yeah. And the fact that Soler has stepped up 9 times and reached base each time.
Another record.
A record for a player to start a postseason career.
Yes.
4 for 4, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, and 5 walks. And the fact that he's become so patient.
That's the huge part of the equation.
Yeah. The fact that he has become so patient. And when he got hurt in this season, when he came back, he was having a hard time. He was having a hard time getting some playing time.
Yeah.
He was having a hard time getting some playing time because you had Schwarber in there and everyone else was
playing all kinds of guys in the outfield.
All kinds of guys were in the outfield, and he just wasn't getting the opportunity. And now he's got the opportunity. Now the big question that I have to ask is, how serious the injury is to Addison Russell.
Well, that's to be determined.
And I think everybody was getting a little concerned when Baez had a problem with that one shot hit at him. But you know what? Baez went 2 for 2 yesterday.
Yeah, he's impressing me. You know what's? I don't know who should get the credit. I don't even know who the Cubs hitting coach actually is.
Yeah.
I
can't think of his name.
But I would say this. I believe that we made light of the fact of guys going deep in counts and whatnot. But when I look at Soler, you brought up Soler. I look at Schwarber. Now you're even looking at Baez, who's all of these guys, have fantastic ability. But I think one of the big things I've always said, whether it was 16-inch softball, which I've been a part of a lot, or league ball, any of the hitting games, when I see guys go after bad pitches early in the count, my question to them has always been, listen, if you're afraid that you're going to go 2 strikes and you have to hit the pitcher's pitch, why are you going after a bad pitch with 0 or 1 strike? Because it's the same effect.
The same thing. Yeah.
Once in a while you're going to have to tip your hat to the pitcher. He's going to get you 2 strikes, and you're going to have to hit his pitch. But that's not going to happen all the time. So my point would be, you're looking for a specific pitch in an area, or whether it's a fastball, breaking ball, whatever. But, have the patience to wait the count out and get to the point where you're going to hopefully see that pitch. And I think that's what you're seeing with this Cubs team.
Yeah, I think so too. I think if he can't go, what I really would like to see, if Russell can't go,
yeah,
and what I really would like to see is Baez at short and Castro stay at second.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't want to see Castro at short and have him suddenly.
No. Baez is going to be fine.
I think Baez will be fine.
I think part of what you maybe saw is, it not being the perfect conditions last night. You come off the bench cold. It's your first playoff experience.
Yeah.
There's some nerves. It might take you a little while to get warm. The one play, now I didn't see the play where he skipped the ball into Rizzo. That was, I think, just a bad play.
Yeah.
But the other one that they actually ruled a hit, which I think was a hit, was going to be a tough play regardless. So everybody was disappointed.
That one where he got handcuffed.
Yeah, they make more. I actually don't even think he was handcuffed. I thought he handled the ball and he just dropped it going from his glove to his hand. I think he wanted to. I think the TV announcers had it right. I think he wanted to really show that arm, and he mishandled the ball.
Yeah.
But I think he'll be fine. I mean, he's an excellent shortstop. Now you talk to the guy. You know what? In Chicago, and it may be like this every place else, but because it's the Cubs or any Chicago team, really, when you think about it, their fans are quick to jump on whatever. The guys this morning were making a big deal that Cutler dropped that snap before he threw the TD pass to Forte. And I'm thinking, what's to make any deal about it at all? I mean, so what? But people in this city get all wound up about little piddly things that are just, I don't know, what I would call
stupid,
routine things that happen in the game. I mean, Baez made a couple of, I'll say this, the second one I don't consider a boo-boo. He made a mistake the first time he had a chance. I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, we've got Jason Hamill today.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts on this one? And that also keeps you with Lester. Well, if you need him for a Game 5,
that's the whole plan.
He's got his rotation lined up nicely.
Yeah, I mean that's his game plan. He's sticking to it. You know what? I'm not going to criticize what Mike Matheny's doing. I think you have to sort of, if things are going your way, which they are for the Cubs right now, you can stick to your plan.
Yeah.
If things are not going the way you want them, then you got to change on the fly, and that's what Matheny's doing. So I don't have a problem with either one.
No. Both the game is managed differently now.
Yeah.
That they really can kind of do this stuff on the fly. They construct their rosters for what they need.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the old days.
Well, no, actually, it's going. This is
No, you know
enjoyable
what?
because it's going back to the
You know
old
what?
days.
You're right. It is going back to the old days.
The whole idea is like last year, and I think I probably mentioned this on the show. In between Games 6 and 7 of the World Series last year, I hear John Smoltz, of all people, was on radio with somebody talking about, well, Bumgarner cannot pitch that 7th game because he's already blah, 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 and, too many pitches. And I'm thinking, it's the flippin' 7th game of the World Series. I mean, what are you?
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
This guy is not going to pitch it. Come
yeah,
on, are
yeah.
you-
Well,
are you
we're
crazy?
gonna hold him out for the opener.
Yeah, so, so what I like about the playoffs is I think it becomes more like what we were used to seeing baseball wise.
The desperation.
Yeah, I always like to talk about and I'm talking ancient history here, but when Casey Stengel took over the Yankees, you still didn't have the real closer role, but the guy who would have filled that role was Joe Page, who had been just like almost every pitcher, probably every pitcher
Every
at that time
pitcher had been a
starter.
Every pitcher.
And so the way that I have read it historically is that Joe Page might come in and pitch the last inning, but Stengel might bring him in the third inning. He might pitch 7 innings and finish the game.
Yeah. It's just
And so I like that because I like the fact you're playing for that particular moment.
there is this. They're playing for the moment, and there's a sense of desperation.
Yeah.
Now-
and let me retract that, backpedal on that a little bit. I think what it is what I like is there's a balance. You have to play for the moment while also thinking about the future, but not too far down the road. And I like that particular way of managing. Managing during the season is not that way.
Formulaic.
Yeah, it's very formulaic. So, yeah, and you know what? Going back to your original question, I have no problem. I think Jason Hamill is a veteran pitcher. I think he has a good shot at giving us, whatever he's got, whether that's 6 innings, 5 innings, 7 innings, whatever. And he was a guy who was steady for us last year. He was steady for us this year. I think he may have
He's had some issues.
injury problems,
He's-
possibly.
Yeah, I think he's had some injury issues this year. But the one thing that I like about the Cubs, you got a lot of arms in the bullpen.
Yeah.
You haven't seen Rodney yet. They haven't even brought him into a game. Fernando Rodney. I don't think he's been into a game in this series.
Well, there's another thing. What really impressed me, and I'm not a super Stroop fan, but he
He looked
came
good
in
last night.
He had good control.
He had really good control.
Rondon had good control. I think the runs that he gave up, probably on any other day, he would have not given those runs up. I think Piscotty hit the ball in the right spot and it went out. The other guy that I've been impressed with is Cahill.
I was just about to say, Trevor Cahill.
Now, I was talking about this with some people, Jim, and I think we've talked about this before as well, maybe over coffee. But I'll never forget watching a game years ago. Harry Carey was announcing, and the Cubs were playing the Phillies, and there was a guy who came in relief, and I don't remember his name, but he had been a big prospect at one time, and Harry Carey made the statement. He says, people complain about the big money that these guys make, but he said for every one of the guys who makes big money, there's 10 guys like this who was a super prospect, got hurt, and now he's just barely hanging on in the majors. And Trevor Cahill, early in his career, I think had a season where he was 18-8 with the Diamondbacks. And then he fell off the radar. I think obviously he was hurt. And now the Cubs, and hey, give Epstein and Hoyer and the organization big-time props on this, found him and got him for what? Almost nothing. And this guy's got a lights-out arm.
Got him for a song. Yeah, and this is a guy who's probably taken over that 5th, 6th inning role when you need to go to somebody in the bullpen.
Yeah. Well, did you see in game
where Jason Grimm has been kind of
he's been iffy.
shoved to the side.
Yeah. Well, That's the other nice thing about Madden. It's not a nice thing if it's happening to you, and in this case, it's happening to Jason Grimm. But the great part about a guy like, say, a Madden is, okay, Grimm actually is shoved to the side, and he's playing the hot hand. In this case, it's going to be Cahill. But by no means does that mean that going forward that Jason Grimm is all of a sudden in the doghouse or not to be trusted ever again.
No.
That is a poor way of managing,
No.
and that is not Madden.
And
you know what?
That's not Madden.
And most, I would say not all, I'm not going to say this is 100%, but most great managers and coaches do not have a doghouse. I mean, you can't afford to have that. You have to have every one of your players contributing, and you can't have anybody who feels you don't have confidence in them, which in turn affects their confidence. So, I'm sure that Madden is talking to Grimm, on a regular basis and, just telling him, hey, you're going to have to earn the right to have that spot back. But, at some point that door will open again. Then you need to step through it.
Mm-hmm.
So no question about that.
Case in point, just look at the season. Look what he did with Castro.
Definitely. Castro is, to me, it's like a rehabilitation project that took a whole year, but it got done.
Yeah.
I
mean, by the time he said, all right, you're not going to be the shortstop anymore, and then a few days later, start taking ground balls at second base.
Yep.
Okay, we'll try you in at second, see how you do it. Start to platoon him and, looking for the lefty-righty percentage. And what did he do? He put on about 40 points on his batting average by the end of the year.
Jim, I never saw it, but I've watched Castro in the playoffs, and obviously a little bit toward the end of the season. And comparatively speaking, I mean, he's a lights-out second baseman. He turns that double play a man. I mean, like he's been playing there all the time.
I know.
And you know what? I won't say we because I'm not going to include you. I don't remember exactly what you thought about Castro, but I dogged Castro out for a long time because of his contract. I dogged management out about that. But you know what? Here's a guy who showed a fantastic attitude about what was happening with him. He could have just said, to heck with it. He didn't, and everything turned out really well.
Yeah. And I mean, I even heard an interview with him. I don't know if it was early in the season or whatever, when somebody asked him, with the prospects coming up, there's always a chance you could be shoved out of a position and traded.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about it? Very intelligent answer. He said, well, I understand that. He said, it's just the business. It's the name of the game.
Mm-hmm.
He said, if I'm traded, okay, that's what has to be.
Yeah. Well, that's reality for every one of them. So, it doesn't matter what your name is. That can happen to you. And I'll tell you, I was just it was a fun thing I didn't see most of the game, but to hear it, the only home run I saw was Fowler's. I think out of all of them, I might have wanted to see Soler's because the way they described it, they said, like, that thing was out of there in a shot. He must have really hit that.
Yeah, it was, the old saying, last time I saw something move that fast, it had a full flight crew.
Yeah.
And I think that was the one I heard on the radio that, I don't know, I think it was Pat Hughes said that thing left a vapor trail.
That's what he said, yeah.
Yeah.
When you think about it, too, I mean, of 6 home runs, you had Fowler, who's a vet. You had... did Castro hit one last night?
Castro
is a vet, of course. Rizzo's a vet. But then Soler, Schwarber, and Bryant, all rookies. I'll tell you, the Cubs, and again, anything can happen, especially when you play that many games to in a season. But, I mean, if the Cubs can stay relatively intact and not have injuries and defections and whatnot, I'll tell you, this team is going to be good for a while.
You've got a team right now who I think is going to contend for at least the next 5 years.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah,
you would think.
Again, there's always the possibility of injuries or anything else. Actually, I'm just Speaking of injuries, I was just trying to look at Twitter to see if there was anything else on Addison Russell. Just to see what's going on.
But the thing about it is, too, it seems like every one of those home runs came at a, it wasn't just frosting on the cake. They needed every one of those runs.
They needed every run.
Yeah.
And you know what? I mean, I look at this team, and they're fun. They're fun to watch. They're a fun team. And if for some reason this isn't the year, I can look at this and say, you know what? This has been a great season. This has been an amazing year.
Yeah.
And it's not like everybody got hot and we had a 1-year wonder. But this is going to be expected. This can be expected for the next 4 or 5 years.
Well, it's possible that this is just the tip of the iceberg, because when you talk about everybody got hot, actually, when you look at the team averages, everybody was not hot. When you look at what they actually did in the season, it was a matter of guys picking up the slack at certain times, and then when they would go cold, somebody else would pick it up. Because if you go down the list, Bryant hit in the 270s, Rizzo hit in the 280s or 90s, Castro, I think, finally got up into the 260s or 70s.
Yeah,
Schwarber hit in the 240s. Russell was in the 240s. And I'm missing a couple of people. Coghlan played a lot. I think he was probably in the 260s or 270s. So it's not like they were tearing the cover off the ball. But they were very. Obviously they must have hit at the right times.
Everybody took their turn.
Yeah.
And team play.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Team play.
Now, I was. The thing I was just going to ask you something here, and it slipped out of my mind because I got off on another track. Okay, that's no big deal. Hey, I have a question for you, though, and this would deal with next year a little bit. One of the big names that everybody has talked about possibly coming to the Cubs is David Price.
Yeah.
But when you look at David Price, and I'm not disrespecting Price, but when you look at his postseason numbers, not so impressive. Not so impressive at all.
He was clutch yesterday, I think.
He
was clutch.
He basically was the mop-up man, and he gave up 3 runs in 3 innings.
Was he?
What
wound up happening yesterday? I lost track of games.
They ended up.
Okay, they won the game 8-4.
8-4. He came in with an 8-2 lead.
Oh, okay.
Gave up.
Pitched 3 innings and gave up a couple of runs.
Yeah.
Okay. What happened in the Mets and Dodgers last night?
The Mets killed them.
Mets killed them?
Yeah, 13-7 or something.
Okay.
Like that.
I did not. I didn't catch the final score.
Yeah.
All right. Now today they have. All right. Today it's Kershaw versus Matz at 7:07. They're after the Cub game.
Well, Kershaw better come through because if not, bye L.A.
Yeah. And Wednesday, both the American League Series go to Game 5.
Okay.
Cole Hamels versus Stroman with the Rangers and the Blue Jays, and McHugh versus Johnny Cueto.
You better have some real strong stomachs if you're Texas and Houston, because those 2 teams, again, and I'm not saying that they don't, but those 2 teams with what happened to them over the last several days, they really need to have short memories and strong hearts, because Texas, I'm sure, obviously you're thinking, hey, we took 2 on the road, I'm going to come home and take this thing, and you didn't. Now you got to get back on that plane that you thought you probably weren't going to have to get back on to go to Toronto. So, not saying they won't take care of business, but it's tough. And yesterday, Houston had a big lead, could have clinched the whole thing, didn't do it. Now you're going back to Kansas City, same type of feeling.
Yeah.
So it's tough, but not undoable, but very tough.
You're going back. You're going back to the Kansas City. The Royals are experienced. You're a young ball club, and things can turn on you. By the way, do you know what happened 50 years ago, 55 years ago today?
Let's see. You stole Alice Gast's lollipop, and you got in trouble with Mrs. Viestings.
Besides that,
Okay. I don't know what happened.
55 years ago today was Mazeroski hitting the home run to win the World Series.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it was kind of funny. I heard the radio coverage of that. Chuck Thompson, remember him? He was
Chuck Thompson.
He was the Orioles announcer, the Colts announcer.
Yeah.
You know,
Good
he
announcer.
did that. He was a good announcer. He got so excited. He got the pitcher wrong who was on the mound, and he said Mazeroski's home run won the game 10-0.
Probably that
he got all excited.
that was probably the beginning of the end for Casey, though, because I
That
think there was
that
some-
was the end for Casey. 61 was Ralph Houck.
Oh, that's right.
Casey got
And
got fired after that.
There was
Or
'cause
retired
there was
or
some,
whatever.
There was some controversy about his pitching choices for that series,
Yeah.
because I want to say, and again, probably unless you really like baseball history, you don't care. But I think the big controversy is he didn't open the series with Whitey Ford, and so Whitey was not available for Game 7.
Yeah.
And I think Ralph Terry was probably the pitcher.
Ralph Terry was the pitcher, and did Ditmar give up the home run?
Yeah, I don't know if it was Ditmar, maybe Stafford, or somebody like that.
Or was it Ralph Terry?
Terry might have had to relieve. I don't.
Terry might have been the one who relieved, and Ditmar started. I have to go back.
Yeah,
and look
I
at that
think you
game.
might be right, because what happened is neither. I think the problem was Terry had a big year that year,
Yeah,
over 20 wins.
he won like 23 ball games.
but
I
it
think,
came down to the 7th game, and Casey had neither of his two best pitchers available to start. That I think was maybe the big problem there.
Mm-hmm.
So
But and the other great story about that one that I think I've told you before was Bob Prince and Mel Allen did the game on TV back in those days when they'd have the home announcers. And Allen wanted to do the second half of the game because he felt that, of course, I get to call another Yankee
Victory. Yeah.
world champion, and in the top of the 8th inning, the producer told Bob Prince, go down to the Yankee clubhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets, he goes through the crowd, gets down to the Yankee clubhouse, hears a roar, and they turn around, grab him by the shoulder, and shove him back, and they said, "Score's tied, go back to the booth." He runs up to the booth, he opens the back door to the booth, just as Mazeroski hits the ball.
Oh,
He hears the roar of the crowd, they grab him, and they spin him around and shove him out the door.
go
and
to the
say,
Pirates locker room.
Go to the Pirates locker room. So he runs down to the Pirates locker room, gets through all the crowd, and he has no idea what happened. Gets down there. They set up the place is a madhouse. The first person he sees is Bill Mazeroski. And Mazeroski is still holding the bat.
Uh-huh.
And he says, I grabbed him and pulled him up there, and I said, "Bill, how does it feel to be a member of the world champion Pirates?" He says, "Great, Bob, great, Bill." Whoosh, off here, grab somebody else.
Oh my God!
So
he had the hero, and he let him go.
And he said, 3 or 4 hours later, after all this, he and his wife go out to dinner. He said, and they put my nice big steak down in front of me, and as I started to carve it, I asked my wife, "By the way, how did we win?" And she says, "Mazeroski hit a home run." And he said, with that, I lost my
I guess he would. Now, let me ask you, Jim. You're a baseball historian. Now that was obviously that's Bill Mazeroski's game for forever.
Right.
But isn't that also the bad hop game? Wasn't that the
Yes,
game?
that was the game. That was the game when
Kubek
took it in the throat.
in the throat.
Got a ground ball into the throat, a bouncer into the throat. Let's take a break. We'll be back. Maybe we won't.
You are listening to Armchair Experts from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Jack FM, 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich, and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, on Wednesday, October the 14th, the year of our Lord, 2015, with Jim Leon and Rich Massaro. And this is Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM, Norridge, Illinois. And now, back to Jim and Rich.
And we're still sitting here, breathing on our own. And you know what? I just glanced up here. I look at this sign here. For those of you who are looking for something to do, if you're driving somewhere or on the train downtown and want to listen to us, we're available on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network telephone hotline. You can dial 641-715-3800. Put in the code 698011 #, and we are number 5.
Yeah, excellent.
We are
Hey,
number.
Jim, you know what? Obviously, we're all excited about the Cubs, and we could probably take the whole broadcast talking about them. But I sort of like to throw in some Bears and some Bulls.
Throw in some Bears because I didn't get to see the game.
I actually didn't see the game.
Okay, well, John,
listen,
John, you want to take over? We're out of here.
here's the interesting thing. I'm working on Sunday, and one of the guys has we have a display in the store. Not our people, but these people are selling something, right? And the one guy has got his phone, and he says, "Rich, it's 14-3. We're losing." And he says 17-3, 17-6. Then it's 17-12. And I said, let me ask you something, Chris. I said, that's not 2 more field goals. That's a touchdown? He says, yeah, touchdown. And I said, then I assume we went for 2 and we missed. He checked. Yeah. I said, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know what part of the game we're in. I know it's the fourth quarter. The Bears are going to win this game. He looked at me like, I said, there's no question. It's going to be 18-17. We're going to win. And sure enough, about 5 minutes later, he says, Bears are winning 18-17 with 18 seconds left. I said, I told you. You
get a feeling.
You get a feeling. And it just was adding up. And I kept what really made me think about this, and I'm not a gambler, and I'm a pretty good numbers guy, but I'm not a super good numbers guy. But Kansas City, I want to say, was a 2.5-point favorite. And when that game got 17-12, I'm like, Bears are going to win.
Well, also the fact that Jamal Charles blew his knee out.
You know what, though, Jim? I hear too many people saying this, that, and the other thing. Here's what I'm going to say about the Bears. First off, they got down. Obviously, got 14 points down. I see some good things here. I see the defense adjusting.
Yeah.
And holding, in this case, Kansas City to 3 more points after getting down 14-3. I also see the Bears doing what they have to do. You're talking our 3 wide receivers for that game were Cameron Meredith, Josh Bellamy, and Marcus Wilson.
I had to laugh because
thanks, John.
I had to laugh because somebody described them as the who's who of who the hell is that?
So I mean, my point would be this, Jim: for the Bears to grind out a victory with almost no experienced wide receivers, where the other team can really say, okay, you know what? Here it is. It's Martellus, Bennett, and Forte are the guys we have to key in on.
Yeah.
And for us still to be able to move the ball well enough to score a couple of touchdowns and a couple of field goals, I actually, you could say, oh, Kansas City is this and Kansas City didn't do that.
Kansas
but you
City
want to know
is not
something?
that good of a ball club.
They're
this year.
not, but the point would be the Bears did. I would say this: Kansas City, player for player, at this point in the season, with all the injuries the Bears have got to be a stronger team than the Bears, personnel-wise. Yet the Bears gutted out an away victory. I think that's outstanding, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And I think I will do that. I'll say this: everything I'm reading from all of these players is that when we're on the sideline and we're down, our feeling isn't. The coaches are not feeling, okay, let's just get this over with. We are still planning to win this game and it's a matter of how are we going to do it.
And I wonder if it was that game a couple of weeks ago when they stunk out the place, when they got beat so badly.
The second game of the year?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, here's what I would
When
say.
when the coaches went off the field going, good Lord, that was awful.
Well, I think since then, though, again, they've sent some messages. They've got rid of a glut. I think right now, for Fangio, say, he's got personnel that he knows exactly what he needs, what to do with each of these people, how he wants to use them. Again, nothing against Jared Allen, but that was Jared Allen was sort of sticking out like a sore thumb. You can't disrespect a player of that ability, but at the same time, I don't care how good a coach you are, you got that one person that just does not fit into your
It doesn't
your
fit in
thing.
your. It doesn't fit into what you're trying to do.
And now, with him being gone, now I think he's got a plan going forward. You got McPhee, you got Acho. He knows how he's going to use them. You got Young and Houston. He knows how he's going to use them. He's got enough time to use all of them the way he wants, and I think that's very helpful.
Yeah.
So it's not addition by subtraction in the fact that Jared Allen was a problem or a bad guy. It was just a addition by subtraction that he just was not fitting into what the Bears wanted to do.
And I mean, you know what? I mean, you made a comment early on this season when we were texting back and forth, I think, on the night of the trade, on the night of both trades, was that they're going to cut and paste until they find the guys that fit what they need.
Yeah, yeah.
And the fact that maybe they've started to find them, and the fact too that they're going to build up draft picks down the road. That a lot of times you find those good defensive players in the late rounds.
That's true.
And the other thing too, the old the saying that you hear from Major League Baseball. Well, we can use it as currency. We have currency now.
Yeah. And am I saying, Jim, that the Bears are going to be great this year? No, I'm not saying that. But I'm going to say I think you're going to see a more enjoyable product on the field. I don't know how the offense will do until they get some people back. It'll be tough to watch the offense because they're going to be limited. But
Yeah.
I think you're going to enjoy.
By the way,
I think this
I
defense
think I heard
is going to grow.
I think I heard Jaquiz Rogers is done for the year.
Done for the year. Okay.
I thought I heard him. I thought I heard this morning something about he's on IR.
But that I think the defense is going to probably improve as the year goes on. I think you might enjoy watching these guys. And I think the other thing is I think my hat's off to the Bears. I want to say this. I think this guy McPhee was a good pickup.
I think he is too.
He's got the right attitude. He'll say, you know what, I screwed up, and I got to. And you know what though, he doesn't just say I screwed up. He'll say I screwed up. Now I got to make a play, and
Right.
then he'll go out and make a play.
Right.
That is huge because you know what, you could say I screwed up all you want. That doesn't mean jack unless you come back and do something about it. And he seems to be the type of guy to do that. So. Is Shea McClellan, I'm wondering if he's out for any length of time because he seems to be a key part of this defense.
He seems to be coming around as a part of the defense, and I know I haven't seen anything regarding his condition. Now did I hear he went off on a cart?
Yeah, he went off on a cart, but he walked out of the stadium with a brace, but on his own.
Okay.
I
was, up in
the
Michigan.
signal calling. So
Yeah, up in Michigan, I didn't get too much Bears news.
But I think the Bears are. And you know what? I'll tell you what. Here's where the Cutler haters. You would hope that they would see a difference because, again, I'm not saying Jay Cutler is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I would not say that, but he's not in the bottom rung of the quarterbacks either.
No.
And he has made. I don't care what they want to say. You could disagree with. He has made a nice difference for this team the last two games. And if you would have had Jimmy Clausen no disrespect to Jimmy Clausen, I don't think you would have had the same outcome. So the fact that he came back from injury pretty quick and managed the game, which is what every quarterback does anyway, manage the game, whether you're Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, or Jay Cutler, or somebody lesser, they all manage the game. That's the catchword for the media when they think a quarterback's not that good, but they all do it. They all manage it.
They all have to manage
That's
it.
They have no choice.
There
That's
is
what you're
no
there
choice.
doing. Yeah, you are managing the game. So,
Right. And, some of them can manage it quicker.
they manage it in different ways, but they all manage it.
They manage it from the tools they have around them.
That's true, too.
That's
true.
If you've got to be a grind out, type, take this one play at a time, work your way upfield, you're a game manager that way. If you're an Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady who has receivers coming out of the yin-yang, your management might be 3 plays.
I don't want to get off on this tangent, but if you really analyze, say, what the New England Patriots do, he throws reasonable amount of times, but they run the ball a lot. They try to establish the run so that the pass becomes open.
That's right.
And that's usually, when I've seen them, that's their game plan.
That's right.
So it's not like it's not like they're the greatest show on turf Patriots.
No, they're not.
They play solid football.
They play solid football, and I had to laugh this morning because the guys on the midday show on The Score have Rodney Harrison on every Tuesday, about the time you and I starting our little nonsense here, and one guy called up because Harrison is always talking about how smart Bill Belichick is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, he's the smartest coach on the face of the earth. He's the smartest coach that ever has been in the game of football. He said, well, listen, do me a favor. When you get Harrison on, ask him if Belichick was so smart, how come he was 36-44 at Cleveland?
Mm-hmm. There's a great point, because we were just talking a few minutes ago about Casey Stengel. There is no question that I'd say Belichick's a very good coach. Casey Stengel was a very good manager. You don't do diddly squat if you don't have talent.
If you don't have that,
you may be able to enhance that talent to a certain degree, but you can't enhance it more than its optimum level. And if its optimum level isn't high, then you're stuck.
That's right.
Are they very good at what they do? Bill Belichick works hard. He's a fanatic on film. He knows his stuff, but he also has some good players around him.
That's right.
I was going to ask you, Jim, now, remember last time we talked, I think Derrick Rose had just been injured. And I don't know if you remember this, but I said, okay, it was either Taj Gibson or Jimmy Butler got him. And now it's finally come out yesterday, I just read it, that the man he took the elbow from was Taj.
Taj thought it was him.
Yeah.
Taj thought he was the one that did it.
Yeah, but he thought he was one that did. He didn't know he was. I'm sure he didn't know.
No, the comment that when he was talking to the press was, he says, I think I'm the one that hit him.
Well, since you were there and your elbow was in the air and this guy walked off with a broken orbital bone, I would assume you would know you were the guy who did it.
I'm kind of guessing you're probably the guy who did it.
I was saying to you or to somebody, I guess it wasn't you, Jim, because the other day I'm saying to somebody 2 years ago on this show when Rose was first hurt, that get rid of him now while we can get something for him, because he's gone more. John, and I got to say, you've never been a Derrick Rose fan. And, there was times when I said, okay, I have nothing against Derrick Rose, but we should move him. But this guy has gone more and more sour. I'm not talking about this incident with the woman on the West Coast, because I don't count that. I'm just talking about in terms of his BS talk about, I got to worry about being able to walk so I can see visit my son's teachers and see him up on the
and go to meetings
and go to meetings and all this stuff and now saying what a great player he is. You know what? When a guy starts talking about like that, you're telling me one thing. Your confidence is shot to the point now you got to talk yourself up. I'd say this guy, not only is he shot physically, but I think his confidence is totally shot. I think he's really – you're never going to see the Derrick Rose that started out in this league, as sort of a very, very watchable, very excellent player. That Derrick Rose, you're never, ever going to see on a consistent basis again. That's my feeling.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think so either, and I have to laugh because of, I have to watch myself and all this. Somebody put up a great picture on Facebook the other night. Or the other day of, opening day of the basketball season, and Derrick Rose out on the court in bubble wrap.
That's good.
I thought that one was a classic.
That is excellent.
I wish you were on Facebook more. I'd have just forwarded that stuff to you.
Geez,
You'd have gotten.
By the way, Jim, you know what I totally skipped over here, and I jumped to the Bulls, but we were on the football for a minute, and I wanted to jump from the Bears to our own Ridgewood High School.
I was going to come back to that.
Would have enjoyed the game on Friday night. The best game that they've played in the entire time that Coach Zach has been the head coach. It was a Ridgewood performance that ranks with
one
of the better. Yeah, back in the day. And to tell you exactly what happened, I'm thinking, now I'm standing in the end zone because they had the alumni tent.
Right.
And, there was a bunch of guys from the 65 football team which were undefeated there watching.
Right.
And
Who was there?
Danny Carroll,
Okay.
Wayne Rudolph,
Okay.
Wayne Wilson, who wasn't a football player, but Wayne was there. I'm trying to think who else. There was Paul Garber.
All right.
And
all good names.
All good names. But at any rate, within 3 offensive plays, St. Ed's is up 14-0. I mean, there's not even 2 minutes gone in the first quarter. And I'm thinking, what an embarrassment. I mean, these guys are all back to see this, and it's going to be a running clock, and we're going to get blown out. And Ridgewood comes back and scores to make it 14-7. The end of the quarter, they were up 28-21. All that scoring, 49 points combined in the first quarter. Final, 31-23. So the rest of the way, it was one field goal by Ridgewood, Gazanicha. Did I say that right? I think
That's
so.
pretty close to it, yeah.
And then they got us for a safety.
Mm-hmm.
We win 31-23, but just an excellent football game. Ridgewood, in Coach Zach's tenure, there was one that I could think maybe that rivals that, and that was a few years ago when we come out with about 20-some guys, and RB comes out with about 70 on homecoming at Ridgewood, and we end up beating them that night, which was a good night as well. But this was a really, really good win.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm sorry I couldn't have been there. I hope they didn't, when they made the presentation, I hope they didn't use my good wishes that I sent to you, along to you, that I said it's nice that...
I wish I would have done something that like that.
I wish, I said it's nice that a member of the class of '69 has his name up on the wall and it doesn't involve a law enforcement agency.
Wow. Yeah. By the way,
John liked that one. They didn't use that. Huh?
No.
Oh,
I have to say that prior to the game, this you would appreciate. I went to Rudy Wyater's wake, and Rudy Wyater was a classmate of ours, and he was a teammate of mine. And Rudy died from pancreatic cancer.
Ah, jeez.
I talked to his brother Greg, and Greg had said that he battled it for a while, took chemo, and then saw that it was not going to work, and just the last months of his life just did the pain reduction thing, and which I sort of admire Rudy for that, because that's probably the route that most of us would probably end up going.
Yeah.
Did see his brother Greg, brother Paul. I missed his brother Dave. I think might have been downstairs. I wasn't there that long. I ran into some of ex-Ridgewood, some really good names, Tommy Barato and Tommy Fenley, Mark Georgianis, and Kevin Doherty, also Wayne Bush and Marty DeGrazia. And it was good to see those guys, and not so good to see Rudy where he was at, but just wish the Wider family well. And, Rudy just passed a little too early.
Yeah, a little bit much too early. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we're at that point now where we go to more of those than we want to.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And that's the difficult thing.
But back to the Bulls.
I was just going to bring up one more Bear.
Go ahead.
Bear item is I just happened to turn over to by the numbers page in the Sun Times. You know who's the best defense as far as yardage given up in the national conference?
Oh, you're talking about right now.
Right now, the best defense as far as yardage given up.
The Bears.
You betcha.
I'm going to tell you right now.
304.6 yards per game.
You are going to see the game plan will be the offense to possess the ball, try to keep the defense off the field, and when the defense gets on the field, I believe that you're going to see, by the end of the year, you're going to say, this is a Bears defense that we like a lot.
And for a defense, especially after that first game, or after the Packer game, right? That was the opener, wasn't it?
Packers was the opener, yeah.
The way the defensive backfield was performing in that game. The best defense is as far as the best defense against the pass. The Bears are number one.
Wow,
180 less than 200 yards per game, 185.8. Rushing, middle of the pack probably.
It's
that's an impressive number.
It is, and I noticed that Tracy Porter is healthy and back in the in the lineup, and I think that's helping. And Kyle Fuller, after some troubles the first game or two, has seemed to settle down and play better. Amos at safety is working out well, and I noticed that with Antrell roll out, this guy that they picked up during the season, Jones Quarty, is it?
I think so, yeah.
Or is it Quarty Jones? One of the two.
One of them. One way or the other.
Let me say this. I think that the Bears, management-wise and coaching staff-wise, have the potential. I think you have guys there now that I would compare favorably to what you see happening with the Cubs and the Blackhawks. I think you're going to see guys come onto this football team that you're going to be happy with, because I think Pace and Fox and Fangio and whoever else is involved in all this are going to be those types of guys who know what a football player who works in a lineup looks like.
Mm-hmm. As opposed to what was here for the last few years.
Yeah, and I think that's going to happen. And now, again, I'm not making any predictions. The Bears, you know what? I don't think it'd be out of the realm of possibility for the Bears to be a 500 team this year. But I would say this: I'm not predicting that. But I think you will.
Wouldn't necessarily,
as the season goes on.
Wouldn't necessarily surprise me. I don't think they're going to be there.
No, but let's put it this way. Everybody said they were a 3-win team. Now, Detroit's going to be really dangerous this week because they don't want to go 0-6.
Right.
And the Bears are remember, Jim, when we talked, when the Bears were ready to play the Raiders?
Right.
And everybody was high on the Raiders.
Right.
And, well, look out, the Bears
Watch
may
out.
go 0-4.
Right.
And I said to you, the Raiders are a team in transition.
Right.
So they can look really good one week, and they might not look as good the next week.
Yeah.
The Bears are in that same position.
Bears are in that point right now.
They won 2 games that they needed to win, but they could go into Detroit and have a few things go wrong and not necessarily walk out of there with a victory. But
now,
I'll go back
here's a point too. Then and I always ask this because I said the same thing with the Packer game because I thought that the line on that game was too low
Yeah, I know what you're going to talk about. The line, the
The-
Lions are 5.5 point.
No,
favorites
the
or
game
something.
the game went on the board at 6.5, and it's 3 now.
And it's 3, so it's come. So there's money going the Bears' way.
Money's going the Bears' way.
But that doesn't mean. You know what? I'd rather
That
look
can
at.
be bets from the heart.
Yeah, that's from the heart. What I would say is, though, going back to what the Bears possibly could do, I think that you have 2 winnable games with the Lions. I think that Minnesota is not impressing me that much. You have 2 winnable games. I'm not saying they're going to win, though, but they're winnable games. And I would say this: if Rodgers, not that he had a terrible game, but if he has an average game again against the Bears, I don't think that the Bears are. It's out of the realm of possibility the Bears could beat Green Bay. Now I don't know what the rest of our. I think we're going to play Denver and San Diego. 'Cause
You've
it
got
looks like we're playing
you've
the
got
AFC West.
you got the West this year, so you're going to have yeah. You've got Denver and San Diego.
Now Denver has an excellent defense. Peyton Manning has been sketchy, but they manage. They know how to win.
Now you've also got. Then I think you also have the NFC West too,
Oh, we're playing NFC West too. So
because we played Arizona.
okay, we played Seattle. So we're going to play the 49ers as well.
And we got the
And
40,
then the Rams.
49ers and the Rams, and the 49ers are a hot mess.
Yeah, they looked better on the
They
other
look
night,
better.
but
They look better the other night. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is there's more than 3 winnable games on that schedule.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
8. I'm not saying they'll go 8-8, but I wouldn't. It wouldn't shock me to see them go 8-8.
It wouldn't surprise me. I think 6-10 is within the realm of possibility. Mm-hmm. Very easily.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? It could be. I remember years in the Bears' history where, say, the team was coming up. You know, it was a rising team where 6-10 or 7-9 got you a little excited because you could see as the season progressed that the team was playing better football and that they were going to be a good team. Mm-hmm. Down the road. And I think that's what you're going to see this year. I think you're going to see that that down the road this is going to be a good team. I mean, there'll be changes. Obviously, there'll be shore up positions that need to be shored up. But I believe that Pace, Fox, and these guys are going to know who the football players are.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of a good example of a guy that they brought over. Well, I mean, when you look at it this way, Jarvis Jenkins, Sam Acho, who the heck knew who those guys were?
who knew who-
But they're
who-
playing good football.
You're finding good quality players.
Right.
And I mean, it's the same thing when you. Okay, let's go back to the. Let's go back to the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
We traded Scott Feldman for Jake Arrieta.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
How'd that work out?
who was excited when they picked up Dexter Fowler to be the center fielder?
Yeah.
But you know what? I'll tell you what. I saw Dexter Fowler play when he was in Colorado. Didn't think much one way or the other. I knew he had been in Houston last year. That was a loser.
Yeah.
But here's a guy who, on a good ball club, doing his job is a huge part of it. He's a huge part of it.
And it was one of those things where, the mastermind molder, Madden, said, "You're going to drive us. Mm-hmm. We're going to go as how you drive us."
Yeah. Yeah.
And a vote of confidence in a game like this, and in a game like baseball where egos can be so easily bruised,
Well, I know
that's a big help.
I'm thinking to myself, we were all sort of upset the fact that Renteria got his big chance, was there for a year, and then they did what they had to do. But everybody felt bad for Renteria. But now, does anybody feel that bad now, seeing what happened? And does anybody think we would have been where we are if Renteria was the manager?
No.
No, we would not. There's
We
no
would have.
way.
This would have been the transition year.
It would have been.
This would have been the transition year that says, wait until next year.
Exactly.
So, I mean, the opportunity, they did what they had to do. Rick Renteria wasn't fired for anything he did. He was fired because Joe Madden became available.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And that's the name of the game.
Definitely.
Well, for once again, for having nothing prepared, we managed to.
Yeah,
kill.
we could be talking for another half an hour.
We
for
killed
God's sakes.
we killed about another hour. Anything you want to chime in on, Doctor? No. No?
Hey, John, is it true that I when we come down here in between, let's see, maybe after New Year, this will all be in red with the big Bulls logos, and we'll have a big picture of Derrick Rose in front of us, and John will be the president of the Derrick Rose fan club.
And Derrick Rose will be in bubble wrap.
That'll be upstairs, right above me.
Hey, John. What are you gonna make pumpkin pie with all the pumpkins that are on your front porch after Halloween?
My sister will.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Bring a piece back after she does.
Yep, okay, I'll do it. I just want to say one thing. I want to congratulate Rich on what a great ceremonies they had at Ridgewood High School Friday night with the dedication to the press box.
Thanks.
It was probably
But,
it was probably good. Probably good I wasn't there because I'd have told the truth about you.
Actually, for a while, I thought they might do a "This Is Your Life" thing, and all of a sudden, out from the crowd would step Jim Leanne. You know, they'd have him as a voice in the background. I have known you since we were 8 years old, and then somebody would say, "Do you know that voice? Oh, it's Jim Leanne, my good friend."
I was really very proud to know that what great friends we are. And then to look up at that box and see your name up there, Rich.
That's you know what, Jen? I really couldn't. Usually, if I know that, because they didn't let me know anything that was going to happen. So usually, like at the Hall of Fame banquet, I had some vague idea of what I was going to say, but how I was going to put it together, you know, I didn't know till I stepped up to the microphone. So that turned out pretty good. But I had no clue. I mean, they asked me do you want to say something? So I got up there, and I don't even remember what I said. But at any rate, I wish that I would have known that I was going to speak, because there was a lot of things I could have said. But one of the things I would say is that if you would have asked me, you know, in 1969, would I ever think that something like that could happen? I'd say, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So it's a sort of unreal feeling.
Well, it's good. It's good, and like I said, it's probably best I wasn't there to bust your stones.
Well,
Yeah.
no, actually, I wish you would have been there, Jim.
Yeah, but
I would have been comic relief.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, it was good. You know, I mean, hey, I'm standing in the end zone then after the ceremony with the other alumni, and I get a text from Sam Palazzo, and I see this picture, and it didn't even register. And then about 2 days later, I look at the picture again, and it's a picture of me at the mic, and you know the other people around me. And I texted Sam. I go, "Thanks so much, Sam, for taking that picture." But when I first looked at it, I didn't even realize what the picture was. I think I was just sort of like
in the days.
it was a unreal night. So,
Was anybody there from '69?
they were. I didn't see anybody.
Okay.
No, not really. It could have been, but I didn't see him.
I know. I heard from Linda Guerin, who was 65, and she said that she had gone to the luncheon that they had. It was a really nice event, and she thanked the people that had put it on. That whoever had put it together. Linda has some health problems, and she doesn't get around too well anymore. But she said she really enjoyed it.
I have to say that, you know what? It's what's really funny now. John, you're 78, right?
And 77.
77.
Yeah.
And I see John, and obviously I know he's, you know, what age he is. But because he's like a colleague and a friend, I don't think of him as really. I mean, I know you're old, but I don't think of you as old.
We don't view you as that age.
But what I was going to say is that at the alumni tent, you know, the classes of 63, 64, and 65 were represented. And there were a group of people sitting there in chairs. And all I could say is it reminded me of, and I don't know how this is going to sound, but the people seemed really old. When I say old, there's old where you're old, but you're still sort of alive. And then there's old and you just sort of sit there and you're, you know, gazing off into space. And these people were in that category, and I hated to see it because, and you know, it sort of makes you, I don't want to get into a long thing, makes you wonder, you know, what's the difference? How does one person, you know, just stay sort of in tune with things? I mean, I'm like for us, we're not into all the modern music and stuff, but we're still pretty lively, and then other people aren't. I don't know. I don't get it. So
You are what you. What's the best way to say it? You are what you are. You get out of life what you put into it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't put anything into it, it just passes you by.
yeah.
I mean, I look at this, and I mean, I've told people, I'm going to be 64 at the end of the month, and there's a lot of people who are surprised when I tell them that. I mean, it was the same thing. My mom passed at 92. A lot of people think she didn't look 92.
It's not even a matter of how you look. I mean, because as you age, you can't. There's certain things that you're not going to be able to. They just happen physically. But it's as you said, it's sort of your spirit.
Yeah.
I think that is the key thing. And some people, I don't know, maybe I've just been fortunate. Some people, life beats them down, maybe, and they're beat down. And other people, it doesn't happen that way.
A lot of people ask me, what's your age? And I said, I'm 77. You're 77. You don't look that old. I said, I'm too busy, and I just keep on moving. I don't have time to get old.
There you go. There you go. I mean, it was the same point. Years ago, when my mom turned 80, we had a surprise party for her. And invited friends, family, and I wanted some people from the neighborhood who's known us forever. And one of them was Rocky Secco. And when when I stopped and talked to him one day, he goes, "Your mom is 80?" He says, "The way she goes walking by the house,
Yeah.
I never would have thought that."
Yeah.
I never would have thought that. And my mom always talked about the fact that she had an aunt who lived to 98 years old. And back in those days, that was,
Yeah, that's old.
That was old. And she always remembered that her aunt would every day her aunt would get up, she'd always put her makeup on, and she'd do her 20 penny exercise. She'd drop 20 pennies on the floor, bend down, pick it up. Bend down, pick it up.
That's good.
And that was her exercise every day. And my mother would walk. My mother never drove, so everywhere around here, she walked, she took the bus, whatever she had to do. And she always said that kept her young.
Yeah, that's good.
And Mom's birthday was tomorrow. 14th. My mother's birthday will be the 14th. And my mother would have been 97 tomorrow. So, happy birthday, Mom.
Yeah.
Thinking of you.
Happy birthday, Mrs. Leanne. So
Thinking
anyway,
of you.
we're
All right.
over.
We're over, but as always, that's the way we are. So thanks for listening. We had a good time once again with our unplanned nonsense. One of these days, we'll actually have to decide on something, and then we'll forget what we're talking about anyhow.
I almost forgot we had the show because I didn't hear from you, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I think we got a show tomorrow.
There you go. That's it. All right, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you in a couple of weeks. We are Taillights.
Thanks, Jan.
You have been listening to Armchair Experts from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Wednesday, October the 14th, the year of our Lord, 2015, on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS Norwich and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network with the WRHS FM sports announcers Jim Leon and Rich Massaro. This broadcast was directed by John DeVita. Special thanks to radio station manager Kevin Zefalik of WRHS FM Norwich and the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, Mr. John Seconda. This broadcast was pre-recorded on Tuesday, October the 13th, the year 2015. Until next time, please be safe and thanks for listening.